what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Foot Candle Films. Film news and reviews from two guys who really like movies.
This episode is brought to you by the Foot Candle Film Society. For a schedule of upcoming screenings and membership information, visit the Society's website at www.footcandle.org.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Foot Candle Films here on the Mesh.tv podcast network. My name is Alan Jackson. With me is Chris Fry. We of the Foot Candle Film Society, the Foot Candle Film Festival, and now the Foot Candle Films podcast. Chris, how's it going today?
It's going well. I am looking forward to talking about today's film. We'd kind of batted around a couple, and then you said, I tell you what, let's review Blink Twice.
Yeah, we had three films kind of in contention.
We did.
All coming to our local multiplex, which was kind of nice to have a little variety for once. A weekend where there were actually some interesting options of films to review. But like Chris said, we did settle on one that we're going to be discussing today. It is the film Blink Twice by writer and director Zoe Kravitz. We'll be discussing that film at length here in just a few minutes. Followed by, we'll play a little game because I have three trailers we could play, but I don't want to play three trailers. I want to play two. So I'm going to we'll figure out a little game to figure out which two we want to play.
Okay.
Films that are going to be coming out here before too long. And we're kind of curious about all three of them. So we'll see which of the two make the cut this time. Whichever one we don't get to, we'll table and we'll push off to another episode, but we'll at least get the two trailers in. And we're going to end the episode with one of Chris Fry's recommendations of a film that he recently caught up with that he thinks might be a good thing to recommend to the rest of us. I've got a feeling I know what the recommendation is going to be because I sat with you watching it in a outdoor environment last weekend. But anyway, we'll leave it to that and get to the recommendation at the end of the episode. But first, Chris, before we do any of that other stuff, we got to get to our main review. It is, as I mentioned, writer-director Zoe Kravitz's first film, starring Channing Tatum and Naomi Ackie, and it is the film Blink Twice.
We're going to my island for a few days.
Do you guys want to come?
This is crazy. Did we just jet off to a billionaire's island with a bunch of strangers?
No, he's not a stranger. He's Slater King.
Everybody say, making memories! Making memories!
You having a good time?
We're having a great time. We're drinking champagne and we're eating amazing food. So do you think the human sacrifice is before or after dinner?
The legendary parties of Slater King. Not what I thought it was gonna be.
We still have fun. It's just a little different now.
What do you mean?
Phones, please. Wait, for real?
You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do.
I'm having a great time here. But I also have this feeling that I'm not.
Zoe Kravitz makes her directorial debut with the suspense thriller Blink Twice. The film stars Channing Tatum as tech billionaire Slater King, who invites Frida, a cocktail waitress he meets at his annual fundraising gala, to a getaway vacation on his private island. Frida, played by Naomi Ackie, invites her friend Jess, played by Aaliyah Shawkat, to tag along. When strange things start to happen, both begin to question what exactly is going on in this supposed paradise. I'm most familiar with Kravitz from her acting roles as Catwoman in 2022's The Batman and as the lead in Steven Soderbergh's Kimmy. Alan, what did you make of her first time in the director's chair?
So, I'm just going to go and put this out there. Sure. I'm going to point out some issues I had with the film here in a little bit.
Okay.
But before I get to any of that, I do want to say, I think this was a very well-made film.
Okay.
And I think there's a lot of talent here. And I'm excited to see what she continues to work on in films.
Gotcha.
There's a lot here to chew on. There's a lot, I think, looking at it from a filmmaking standpoint, I think was really good.
Okay.
And I can rattle off a lot of things I really did like about this film. Overall, I am positive on this film, but I do have some issues that I think hampered my enjoyment of it to a full extent. But overall, I'm just here to say right off the bat, because I like to recognize anytime somebody makes a first film,
sure,
that I thought was generally a good film and has a lot to talk about, this film does meet that category. So kudos, Zoe Kravitz. Good start, good movie, good first film. Okay, that's my take on that.
Okay.
I guess you can kind of tell. I am generally positive on the film. I do like it. I think I was probably more impressed with the style and the production of the film, even if I was left a little distant from the story by the end and some of the choices that were made on the storytelling side, on the plot. Even though I liked all of the elements leading up to that, I think acting was across the board really strong. I'm going to go ahead and say, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, Mr. Channing Tatum and the role he played, I thought was really good.
I would agree with that.
Okay,
I thought it was
good. I did think he was really good. And I thought Naomi Aki was very good in her role as well. There's a lot to like with this film. I think, again, I'm more enamored with the production of it and the style and the overall vibe of the film. And I think the confidence that Zoe had in putting this together, all that was really impressive.
Okay.
I just have issues with the plot and storytelling and the pacing of the film in general. But anyway, I'll leave it over to you. Chris, what are your thoughts on Blink Twice?
So it's interesting. Having seen the trailer, which did we discuss the trailer here on the show? We do so many. I can't remember if we did or not.
I think we did.
And I'd seen it. The only one that I've seen more than this trailer in the theater is the trailer for Speak No Evil.
Oh, yeah.
Like if I walk out of a theater without having seen the trailer for Speak No Evil, I feel a little off. For instance, I saw it before Blink Twice. So I was like, okay, everything's right with the world. I've seen that trailer.
I think the staff of the theater actually stop you on your way out and say, did you see the trailer for Speak No Evil? If not, you have to come back inside and watch it because it's a requirement now. Yeah.
Right. No, okay, but saying all that, because going into this, I was interested, I like Channing Tatum. I knew it was Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut. I like her as an actress. But I was a little wary because to me, it looked like Knives Out, Glass Onion done by Jordan Peele. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so that's kind of the mind, because it's the desert, or not desert, but an island and these people coming there and odd things happening and a little bit of a mystery kind of, but that was my concern. But I went in with that concern. Mm-hmm. So the good thing was not that it really wasn't that, but it was enough of its own thing that those concerns fell away. Yeah. And I will say, unlike what it sounds like happened with you, which we'll get to more of that maybe without we don't want to spoil things. Yeah. We always try to uphold that thing in the show here. We try not to spoil things because we like people to go see movies. I really felt like it stuck the landing. And I really like specifically, I'm not going to go into it, but I just, as the film reaches its climax and things are happening, you're like, okay. And then kind of the final, I guess after the climax, like some of the final scene, just how that was like, okay, that is not, I just really liked it.
And the word climax has kind of a broad term, is a broad term. Are you talking?
There's a big action scene.
Okay. You are talking the kind of the bigger, quote, action
fires
scene.
Involved.
Fire
After that.
We'll say the fire. After the fire scene or the fire scene itself.
After both. Yes. There's a lot of stuff going on. I just really liked, and I liked the last shot of the film and kind of what the whole film was about and how it kind of,
sure.
I don't know. And the way I walked out of the theater with that last scene, I was like, okay, I liked it. My concerns, and I wish there again, it's not Zoe Kravitz's fault that I'd seen Glass Onion that there, it's like, that Jordan Peele has made films, it's like, and I'm not saying she totally copied his style. That's just what it looked like to me and the way that the trailer was edited, so, but it was enough here that I felt like it was enough original. Now like you say, I'll second what you've said. I am really looking forward to whatever if she decides to direct another film, and maybe it's something completely unlike any other thing I've seen. So that way that would be like, okay, now here's something I don't have to come in with preconceived notions with maybe.
Well, and I think it's just, the fact that it's a mysterious story on an island with a rich millionaire or billionaire or whatever. And granted, that's that's enough, I think, for us to kind of look and say, oh, well, we've seen this before.
Yeah,
or
not
we've seen
that
these.
Glass
Which
Onion
is-
was the first film that had ever done
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So, yeah.
And you're right. It's not really fair to the film. I mean,
No.
to say that you can't borrow some elements or use some elements that people have seen in the last couple of years.
And
But-
actually, another film that came to mind once I was watching the film, one we reviewed here on the show, which, if I remember, you were a lot higher on than I was, which I wasn't expecting to compare to this film, but The Menu, because there's a lot of food involved
right.
and really like nice meals, and they go on and talk about how, fancy they are. And so I was like, and they have like every night they bring like a big fancy coursed meal. And I was like, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
So, but I think it was just to kind of set the tone
Sure.
for how exclusive this place
Well,
is.
and let's talk about the tone, because I think it's a double-edged sword. I think this film does a really, really good job in the first half of the film setting the right tone. And it's this mixture of, they kind of revel in the joyousness that you see on the surface of what's happening on this island, the music, the food, it's all done really, really well.
and making sure everybody just has a good time.
Yeah. And the movie does a great job of showing you what it needs to show you on the outside of that happening. You know, all along something else is going on. You
And
know
that from the trailer.
The
Yeah, it's
trailer, the title sequence. There's things something's going on. Okay,
right.
something's up. Even if you never saw a trailer, there's enough of a hint that something's not right, or the other shoe's going to drop at some point. And I think the first half of the film is really good at that scene setting. I do feel like that scene setting went on too long before we got to an actual element where the story kind of really kicked in. I felt like, I don't know, and I don't want to try to feel like it has to be in a formula, but you kind of think in a thriller like this, you go 50-60% of the movie and you're building, you're kind of setting tone, you're setting the scenes, you're kind of giving just enough of a taste of what might be coming down the road. Then you spend that last 35% of the film kind of getting to it. It felt like it was a lot more like 80-20, 85-15. It's like by the point we got there, I'm like, okay, there's a lot you've got to do now in this last 15 minutes of this film. I agree. I think compressing all that had to happen in that last 15 minutes, they did a good job with it. It was a tight ending. It's just, I do feel like the run up to where we're getting with the story might have taken just a bit longer and overstayed at welcome a little bit for me from a pacing standpoint. But once it got there, I think it was solid. Now, the other thing I'll just mention is there's a plot device that is kind of, the story hinges on this item, this plot device, this thing being able to do what it does. And I had a tough time with that. I had a tough time with the mechanics of the film.
Wow.
I'm okay suspension of disbelief. I am not the guy that's going to sit on a mountaintop and say, nope, films have always got to make sense. You've got to, you can't try to pull one over on the audience. No, I get it. There are plenty of times I am all for, look, suspension of disbelief. I get it. There's not a way this could really happen this way, but I'm fine to let it go. For me, the ending, when it got to the ending and there are certain mechanics that had to be in place to make things happen a certain way they did, it was a little hard to digest for me. So that's my takeaway with it. I found myself a little distance from that because I found myself pulled out of the film trying to just understand the mechanics of what was happening and realizing how it couldn't have happened, but it had to for the movie, so we had to kind of go with it. Anyway, all right, that's about as vague as I can get with my description of it. But
yeah, all I can say is I guess it was working so well for me that it worked. None of the mechanics were bothering me.
You were bought in enough.
It's kind of like a Christopher Nolan type thing with Inception. If the mechanics are working for you, even if they seem a little crazy or not necessarily logical, which it's the film world, then the film works for you. If they don't seem to quite, if the gears don't quite seem to be meshing, then you get distracted by that and it detracts from your enjoyment of the film. For me, I understand what you're talking about, the item that has to be placed in, but let's just lay it on that whole table. The film is about, and actually, this is the second film in a row where I have seen interesting disclaimers at the beginning of the film. For this film, there was a trigger warning about abuse of power.
And sexual violence.
And sexual violence.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was interesting, which I don't really recall that ever being done before.
I can't remember one.
But it was one of the film. For the other one, we're not going to end up reviewing it, but it was Strange Darling. That film had this thing. It's like, this film was shot on 35 millimeter. Like, it's to let you know this was not digital shot. So it's like things they're making audiences aware of that they want them. So one was a trigger warning. One was like an appreciation of how the film was made. Anyways, I think the logicalness of the film didn't bother me because after that warning, I was like, okay, well, they're basically telling you, or they were to me at least, this film is going to be commenting on abuse of power.
Sure.
And I was like, okay, got it. And so therefore the ending, I was like, okay, for me, that was satisfying. I mean, of course it's fictitious, but it's like, instead of just violence, there was a comeuppance aspect.
Right.
And I appreciated that.
Yeah.
And I guess the mechanics of it to get there didn't bother me as much because I just let them flow.
Yeah.
I want to say I was surprised at the interesting cast that was put together for this. We've we've talked about mechanics and everything, but you touched on briefly Naomi Aki, her performance, and you touched on Channing Tatum, which I thought he did a good job too.
Yes.
But the casting, like, I guess, is it this year at the Oscars that they're going to start giving an award for casting, or is that 2 years off? And this year's going to be not special effects. They already do that,
Stunts.
but action stunts. This is going to be either do stunts, and I've heard rumors that casting is supposedly not far off.
Yeah, and this was interesting casting for sure. Christian Slater, Haley Joel Osment.
Yeah, two stars from, 90s or whatever, and like you remember them and looking.
Yeah.
However, I will say, I know Christian Slater was in Mr. Robot. I don't feel like he ages. I mean, he does have some gray hair, but overall, the dude to me just looks the same as he's always. But it was interesting to see him.
Well, and Gina Davis,
which
I did not expect to be in this film at all.
Either.
And I will give them all props. This is an interesting choice of film for them to be in with the parts they were given to play. And I admire them for doing it. But I'm sure it was probably had to do a little, there probably had to be a little soul searching to decide if this is the kind of part to jump into because, they all had some interesting parts to play in this story and in this film. Surprising roles to play.
And I thought Simon Rex, who was
Simon Rex,
Red Rocket, and so for him to be in this, it was also kind of interesting.
Well, and then again, I got to call out
and Kyle MacLachlan,
Adria Arjona, who we saw in Hitman, and I was raving about. I thought she was so good in that, and she's very good in this.
And I like that film more than you, but we both
really liked her performance. I thought that was the best thing of that film, and she's really good here too.
And when I saw her, I was like, I recognize her, but I don't know where from. It was only after the film when I looked up, I was like, oh, that's where I've seen her. So this is 2024 is my year of getting to know that actress for sure.
Well, and we didn't mention another member of the. You mentioned already about Leah Shawkat, who from I remember so much from Arrested Development, and she's been Search Party. I think was another thing, a show she was in for a while, but she's really good. She's so good in this. Levin Hawk, who is another Hawk member of the Hawk family. He is Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke's son. So we've already had Maya. We've seen in a lot of work now. Levon, the son, has a part in this film. So
let's talk about, you've mentioned both. Yeah. So I liked the cast. I thought the acting was good. It was interesting
very
to see
eclectic,
people.
interesting
Yeah.
cast.
Just
Yeah,
a really people you wouldn't think of being in certain roles in this movie. But
Colin
just,
McLaughlin. Yeah.
Yeah. Just really, really well done. Okay. So we mentioned both Levon Hawke and we mentioned Gina Davis. Okay. If we were going to say something about the film, for me, you've already mentioned, misgivings. I'm positive on the film. I think I like it a little more than you, but not misgivings, but I felt like there was potential. Gina Davis, they ended up coming around a little bit more on her character and kind of giving us a little, but still, I felt like if she just would have had a little more, let's say they gave her of the film, they gave her, let's say 10% screen time. Maybe if she just had 12, because they did end up answering some aspects. You're like, okay, now I know what her air quotes deal is. Okay. Now with Levon Hawke, who played Lucas, he was interesting, and his character, I don't feel his arc got cut a little short, because they kind of made you question certain things about, you're like, okay. And then they were just like, this was when you were talking about kind of the fire portion, things kind of went, and there was so much going on that I think they just didn't have time to kind of resolve that. But I wanted to know ultimately, okay, what do I need to be thinking about this character? Because I know ultimately they did do that for Gina Davis's character.
Very briefly.
But they did do it, and it worked. I was like, okay, got it. Because she basically spouts out some exposition dialogue. You're like, okay, now I know where you are. Got it. But him, I'm just like, wait, so I don't understand where you are on the good bad spectrum. Let's just put it that way.
Well, and I mean, just to kind of couch what I was saying earlier, that's part of the culprit I felt like was happening in that last 15 minutes. Is like, wow, there's a lot to process. There's a lot being thrown, both the Gina Davis character, the Levon Hawke character, Lucas, were kind of not really clarified on. There's a moment where the Christian Slater character, feel like, I knew that was him in one particular scene, but it wasn't really clear at first. And it's like, you're having to kind of process a lot to go on. And that's why I felt like the ending, if the ending could have breathed a little bit more and given, like you said, a little bit more time to each of these little characters and plots to understand kind of where we are, where we got to by the end of the film, it would have been so much stronger. That was my big takeaways. I just felt like that last 15 minutes, I was like, wow, we're doing a lot here. We're doing a lot, and we're still not quite catching all the points and all the nuances we need to. It's like, it was that rushed ending.
I'll justify my original statement, which I was saying I went in with these expectations of this was going to be Glass Onion done with a Jordan Peele feel, making it feel like Get Out. And because it was dense enough that I was unsatisfied with the arc of Levon Hawke's character and Gina Davis, but that was like, well, a second viewing might help me cement things more. And at least it was trying to do so much instead of just being something as simplistic as what I thought it was going to be.
I would much rather take the route it did. Right. It was a pacing thing for me. I think it's like, all right, we're spending the first 80% of the film kind of setting up everything, and then 10 minutes or 15 minutes of payoff that had a lot going on. And I wanted the film to breathe a little bit. I felt like there was a lot more to explore with how things were ending by the end of this story. And I just felt like it was a little bit of a disservice, because I felt like we had invested so much time, kind of the build up.
I see.
And then we just didn't really get that satisfaction resolution with a lot of what was going on.
Got you.
So
I wanted, it's not going to happen, but it would be entertaining to me if Channing Tatum somehow got nominated for Best Actor for this, because I want the clip that the Oscars pull is the scene of him just saying, I'm sorry. I want that. And actually, I wanted that scene to be capped, which this film has some humor in it. It's dark. A lot of it's dark, but it has little glimpses here and there. I wanted that scene to be capped by some line from There Will Be Blood, even like I've killed my son or I drank your milkshake, because the ratcheting up of that, it was like, and then he acknowledged it, but I was like, because that kind of would have broke a fourth wall in a way, because it was just so So good.
It was a great scene.
You know, honestly, I've always liked him. I liked his role in Hail Caesar, although it was very small, but it was a lot of fun. This may be one of my favorite Channing Tatum performances.
Well, because it's
different.
And look, the film is definitely making some commentary on kind of the tech bros culture, the Me Too movement. It's making a lot, and there's a lot to say.
Right.
And I think it does really well in what it's saying. And I think it does it and couches some great commentary in a thriller movie, which is good. I mean, I like that. You mentioned, Jordan Peele. And I mean, there are a lot of similarities to Get Out. I mean, I do feel that Get Out kind of had that same premise of, okay, this is an actor who's now becoming a writer-director. It's got a little bit of a, what's going on? We don't know the deal. There's social commentary mixed in with horror, thriller
Which
elements.
a lot of people, and that's when you go see a Jordan Peele film, even though it's billed as like a horror, a thriller, you know there's going to be social commentary there.
So, I mean, we see Zoe Kravitz kind of following a little bit of the same path, and I admire that. But she did put her own spin on it.
Yes.
Where I do feel like the film had a different style, a different vibe to it. I think, than what we've seen from him. So, like that, but I mean, my only issues, I don't want to say they're fairly minor because they were substantial issues to me by the end of the film, but I don't think they make the film not a good film.
Gotcha.
I think there's a lot of people that
it's the difference between a good film and a great film.
Right. I think there's a lot of people that would appreciate this film. I think there's a lot to see from a filmmaking standpoint. There is even some times, and this doesn't happen very often, where I see shots or scenes that kind of make me go, "Oh, wow, that was."
Are you talking?
That was really nice.
Are you talking about the lounge chair scene with Naomi Ackie and Channing Tatum, where they're laying down, and the way the cameras do this slow tilt?
Yep, that was good.
Like,
in general, there's a lot of use of some wider angle shots where the camera would kind of move to reveal different things. There's a big, really great full wide angle shot in front of the whole complex where they're staying, and you've got Ackie and Tatum kind of having a interaction dialogue going on that scene, but then there's other things going on in the background, other characters. The camera kind of follows and shifts your attention. It was really smart, and I think there was a lot of really great moments in it. So those definitely made me kind of sit up a little bit and be like, oh wow, there's some real effort going into this, and this looks really good.
And there was this being from a female filmmaker, Zoe Kravitz, and being, co-written by her, early on, once they get to the island, there was some camera work and some shots that were very focused on leering at the female body, specifically from neck down and knee up. And I was just like, and there was one shot that you're talking about that kind of does a pan and it kind of follows. It's like, obviously in the female walking across the screen is the center of the frame and they follow her. And it was just like, I don't know. And it made me feel uncomfortable. And I think that was the point. It's like, okay, we're going to do male gaze, but we're going to really lock it in and we're going to make you feel queasy because you already know, you've seen the trailer, something's a little off here. Yeah. And they're like, no, we're going to, and it was just, the camera work and the way they shot it.
It was that whole scene setting for that first hour where it's just putting you, it puts you in an uneasy position where you are kind of appreciating the fun this group seems to be having on the surface. You appreciate the environment that they're in, the setting that they're in, but there's just enough reminders along the way. And honestly, having that warning message at the front. Now think about it. If you went into this movie not knowing anything about it,
right,
and you saw that warning at the beginning, that warning automatically puts in your head, okay, things are going to go south. I mean, you just have to know that. So.
This isn't like, not that this is definitely not going to be light.
Yeah.
This is going to be
dark. But I could see if it wasn't for that warning at the beginning and you watch the first 30 minutes of this, you're like, okay, this could actually be we're really following these two girls that kind of get wrapped up in a big extravagant weekend, and maybe it's a romance movie, maybe it's whatever. I mean, the film does a good job of not tipping its hand in any one direction too much. It wants to put you at ease. It wants you having a good time with these characters. So that way, when you do realize and they reveal what's going on, it becomes even more horrific for you, the viewer, as well. So, yeah.
I want to mention the cinematographer because to do our due diligence in reviewing it, we
absolutely.
both kind of commented on it. But Adam Newport Barra, which I'm not familiar with his name, but I think I'm going to become familiar with his name.
Yes.
I see that he was the cinematographer for Last Black Man in San Francisco.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he's also did
that was beautifully shot, too.
He also did some of Euphoria. He's shot a couple of episodes of that TV series. So, yeah, Last Black Man in San Francisco, the cinematography in that was really amazing.
Yep.
So now he's done
that's
this.
great. I didn't realize the connection there. But
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense. That's
So just wanted to call his
someone
name out.
to watch for sure. We really like his style. So that's great. So, look, I like the film. I think it's a great first film. I think it's a great showcase for a lot of these performers. I definitely think it's a showcase for the cinematographer and for Zoe Kravitz as the director. The writing, I think they could have worked on the pacing and structure of the film a little bit. And I think given that ending, a little more time to breathe, a little more time to explore what was going on. Me personally, I've just got to deal with the mechanics. You wouldn't call it a MacGuffin because it is a tangible thing in the film. It's not really it's not inconsequential by the end of the film like a MacGuffin would be. This is pretty consequential. And the way this thing performs and acts and the function it plays, I have to come to peace with that.
And I'll also say it's important because it is something that has to do with an expectation for females, how they look, how they smell, how they appear. And it is put on them by male. And so for that to actually come around, and I'll leave it vague like that. Yeah. But I think...
the choice of what that item is makes sense.
Got it. The belief in that it's always going to be...
The practicality of how that functions for the story to work.
I just accepted it, but I get what you're saying.
It's tough. It's tough. It's a little swallowing of some disbelief. Not disbelief in the situation of what's going on. It's disbelief in the
it would always
mechanics
work
of
the
how,
way it was supposed to. I get you. And I forgave it. I didn't...
And there's a moment where this same device has to act on another character for the first time. And it just acts a whole lot different than it did the rest of the movie.
But I would say the delivery method is what did it. So I can excuse it for that way. And I don't want to get into spoilers anymore.
Okay.
But
Got it. All right. Okay. All right.
And here, so I've been overall very positive, and I like the film. The number one issue, this is really dumb and really petty. Number one issue I have with the film is the movie poster. Because
it's all Channing Tatum.
It's Channing Tatum using a Polaroid, which, yes, the Polaroid camera is in there.
Sure.
I don't believe, maybe we just don't see it, but it's mainly the Polaroid cameras used by, I think, Christian Slater's character.
Oh, yeah.
And so it bothers me that it's, and maybe it was just cut out, but that bothers me that he's on the poster. And I'm like, wait, but he's just, so that's something stupid. That's a mechanic thing that for some reason is bothering me. So I don't know.
Okay.
But overall, yes, like the film.
Can I just make one more quick call out?
Yes.
Something I really liked.
Yes.
The opening title, if you recall, and you saw this film last night, so you should recall it a little bit better. There's all the lead up. The film starts. There's a lot of lead up.
Yes.
There's a lot of scene setting. They all get to the island and they're all posing for a photograph. And then when somebody takes a photograph, the word blink twice comes up like for a split second.
Okay.
And that's it. I'm like, that's nice. Okay. I like that. Just, I don't know. It just, again, it added a little bit of that. You're having such a good time. Everybody's all fun and silly. And then just to have that title just kind of boom, like
when you realize the line is set.
Oh, okay. Something's up.
And the line is said as well by Naomi Aki's character to Kyle MacLachlan at the gala. Mm-hmm. She says it to him. And and he does actually blink twice.
Yeah. Oh, good. You counted. Okay,
I did. Good. Because I was like, okay, that's interesting. But yeah.
So. Yeah. No, it's a good film.
Yeah.
It is a good film.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I wish it had been great because, again, I think the film outperformed whatever I thought it could perform on, given the premise and giving the setup that I heard about it. But it's a good film.
How could I have been so lazy in my setup just not to have ended on the question, did you have a good time?
Oh, yeah, because that's like the whole tagline of the film. Yeah, I had a good time.
Okay.
I had a good time.
All right.
I had some questions, but I had a good time. So I'm just
I'd
gonna
say they
leave
had
it.
questions too. So
Yeah,
fair.
I had a couple misgivings and a question or two, but overall, I generally did have a good time. Sounds like you did have a good
I
time.
did.
So yeah, that's great. All right. Well, that is Blink Twice. That is in theaters. Should be available for a little while longer in theaters. Didn't do great in box office, but you know, it's one of those. I could see this one getting a little better word of mouth as it goes along, and maybe getting a little more of an audience over time. So, all right, let's go ahead and take a quick break, Chris. When we come back, we've got 2 trailers to show. We're gonna make a production meeting decision here during the break of which 2 we're gonna play. But we've got 2 trailers to play of films to talk about that will be coming up soon. And then we're also going to hear Chris's recommendation of a film he thinks we ought to check out. So stay tuned. You're listening to Foot Candle Films here on themesh.tv, and we'll be right back.
This podcast is sponsored by Jackson Creative, a custom communication agency located in downtown Hickory, North Carolina, specializing in online content creation. To learn more, visit thejacksoncreative.com. Jackson Creative, we tell your story.
Welcome back to Foot Candle Films here on the Mesh.tv podcast network. We had our review of Blink Twice at the first half of the show, both positive reviews. So Chris a little higher on the scale than me, but still both of us coming away very impressed and enjoying the film quite a bit. So let's move on to some news about movies coming up soon. We like to play trailers. I know trailer playing on an audio podcast seems a little weird. Us playing a clip of the audio from a trailer and you can't really see the trailer. We're encouraging you to go online and watch the trailer if you're so intrigued.
Right.
We're just going to play the trailers because we like to watch them here in our studio and then we comment on what we're seeing. So we do have 2 trailers. We did whittle it down to 2 during our break production, our 30-second production meeting. Got it down to the 2 we're going to show. We'll table the other one for another week. So two particular shows or movies we're going to preview for you here. The first one up, Chris, I want to talk about is by Pedro Almodovar.
Okay.
Filmmaker I think we're all familiar with. Anybody who's either been listening to the show, we've talked about some of his more recent films. And in general, I'm pretty big fan of his work, like his films, his body of work in general. But he has traditionally made films in Spanish, you know. Right. So his first film now as an English language feature is coming out.
Okay.
And it stars 2 actresses that I'm also big fans of and excited to see them together. It is Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton.
Both, I think, are new to his cast of actors, right?
I agree. I don't think they've been in any other of his work.
Maybe due to the whole language thing. I don't know if either one of them really speak Spanish that well. So yeah.
Very, very true.
Okay.
Very, very true. This is a follow-up to Almodovar's Parallel Mothers that had,
Penelope Cruz.
Penelope Cruz, kind of his constant in so many of his films. Pretty much it's Penelope Cruz and the actor, what is his name?
Antonio
Banderas. Boy, oh boy. You know what? I tell you, getting old sucks. I'm going to tell you, Chris. I do not remember anything anymore.
That's Second cup of coffee will cure that right
maybe.
up.
I'm only through my first. So anyway, so this is an English language feature film.
Okay.
Tilda Swinton, Julianne Moore is called The Room Next Door.
Okay.
It is being released by Sony Pictures Classic. It's going to be playing at the Venice Film Festival on September 2nd.
Okay.
So we don't really have a date. We do. It'll open in theaters December 20th.
Okay.
So we got the Venice premiere coming up next week. But then, so we'll probably hear some rumblings about whether it's any good or not.
Right.
And then by December 20th, Sony Pictures Classics will be releasing it in theaters. So
holding it for that December release always makes you think that, okay. I mean, it's Almodovar who has done Oscar
he's got
things
some clout
in the past,
already.
So.
I think him attached already kind of adds a little bit of level, even if whether or not the film's really good or not. I think they're going to hold that for December and kind of try to get some buzz from it come awards season. So let's go ahead and check out the trailer for The Room Next Door.
Oh man. So here again, first time Alan and I've seen this trailer.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is you get our immediate reactions because we've never seen it before. Bad thing is that just like with Steven Soderbergh's trailer that we showed, this one was pretty much all music for those listening audio. So we do encourage you to go check it out. But also awesome because one of the last things they leave on screen is Pedro Almodovar's first movie in English, which is just, that's kind of funny, you know?
Well, yes, it's a little grandiose, but kind of hey, you know this guy, and now he's in English. So, all right. But yeah, it's definitely more of a mood teaser piece. It doesn't really give you a lot. I mean, I'm still not really quite clear of the plot other than what Variety wrote up about the film that I'm reading from in the news section here. The only thing I've got is that it seems to be a film about two people who were close friends in their youth when they worked at the same magazine together. And one of them goes on to become an autofiction novelist while the other became a war reporter, and they're separated by life. And then years after being out of touch, they meet again in an extreme but strangely sweet situation. So that's the
And if you
setup.
watch the trailer, obviously the two friends are Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton. One seems to be in failing health. That does seem to be.
Yeah.
So,
but beyond that, I don't know. And what I love about it is I don't know if this is a pure drama. I don't know if there's supposed to be some elements of
Hitchcock, what exactly is going on.
Don't know. You kind of get a little bit of sense of that maybe in the trailer, but maybe not.
Maybe not.
We don't know. So I like the fact that I don't really know what I'm getting into with this, which is always good for me. So that's all I need to see about this film. I don't want any more plot. I don't want any more details.
Sure.
Just December 20th. Looking forward to it.
And it looks like an Almodovar film.
Oh, yeah.
Like just the shots, the colors, everything. It's like, yep. And going into an Almodovar film, even if maybe you don't care for the plot or you find it a little, the acting is going to be good and the cinematography is going to be good. You just know that.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking forward to that.
Same here. So that's December 20th. We will be on the lookout for that.
I mean, would I have been equally as excited if this was two people pretending they were college roommates and they were like the room next door and it was like a zany comedy or something? Yes.
If it's Almodovar making it, sure. And
if it, for some reason, it was like slightly de-aged Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore. Or no. They're just it's like a back to school Rodney Dangerfield. And that
you want
amazing.
a college-aged, de-aged Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton.
Or no, them just being Rodney Dangerfield, like going back to school. Let's forget the de-aged part because you and I usually hate that stuff.
Yeah.
No, but I want Almodovar shooting a comedy about two women going back to college, playing roommates, and it's Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore.
The thing is, that sounds great.
Right.
I'm actually on board.
Not what we're getting.
Completely on board. No, that doesn't seem to be the case with this film, but that's good.
Okay,
let's talk about the elephant in the room, Chris.
Sure.
We have a movie coming up that, correct me if you feel differently.
It is one of my,
It was one of your anticipated films?
Yes, and I guess we're going to get to see it in 2024, or maybe I'm not actually going to get to see it till 2025.
But you got to admit, in recent months, this film has become a bit of a punching bag.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Which
I'm okay with because I'd rather a film get punched all the way down before I see it. And then when I see it, be like, oh, that was actually really interesting, really good. We are talking about Francis Ford Coppola's film, Megalopolis.
Yes.
Now, Coppola himself has not made a film since, was it Youth in Revolt?
Oh, gosh.
Or Youth Without Youth. I'm sorry. Not
Okay.
Youth Without Youth. I think that was his last film as a director. No, he did a couple others. Oh, he did Twixt. That's right. And Tetro.
Which I've wanted to see all three of those and have never seen them.
Well, let's be, I'm just going to be very open here.
Sure.
Okay. And I hate basing a filmography of somebody just on scores and ratings. But when you do look at his filmography and you look at average critic and audience reactions to it, pretty much since, pretty much since like 2000, he has made several films, like 5 or 6 films, and people just haven't connected with him.
Right.
Okay. They haven't gotten a lot of attention, and I don't think they got very good regards. So he is in a little bit of a phase right now where I think this is where this punching bag situation comes. You get a big name director like Coppola, who of course has created some of the indelible classics of our cinema.
Apocalypse
Absolutely.
Now, yeah.
In the last 20 some years, hasn't done anything of note that people have really kind of clung to or gravitated to.
Sure.
But he hasn't made a film. His last film was called Distant Vision back in 2015. So this 9 years later, we have his new film Megalopolis. And this one is kind of getting a lot of attention for a few reasons. One, it's got a big name cast.
Right.
Adam Driver. You've got, let's see. Aubrey Plaza's in it. Shia LaBeouf. Lawrence Fishburne. John Voight. Jason Schwartzman. Talia Shire. I mean, it's a big cast.
It is.
A lot of people, a lot of interesting casting.
Yeah.
It's a high concept film. Takes place in the city of New Rome, kind of in a futuristic,
New York
futuristic alternative
place.
universe type of thing. And it's all about a main conflict between the main character, Caesar Catilina, a brilliant artist in favor of a utopian future, and the greedy mayor, Franklin Cicero. And between them is Julia Cicero, with a loyalty divided between her father and her beloved. So it's kind of going for a little bit of a...
Can you give us the rundown of who plays those three characters? Adam Driver's one of them.
Adam Driver is the Caesar Catalina. Mayor Cicero is played by Giancarlo Esposito.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And then Natalie Emanuel, who I'm not familiar with, but she plays Julia Cicero.
Gotcha.
Everybody else are kind of supporting characters in this world that he's created in this film. Now, it's 2 hours and 18 minutes, which nowadays is kind of quaint. It's like, you expect this to be a 3 or 4 hour movie, but it's like, 2:18. Oh, it's actually kind of short.
It's pretty trim.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But the reactions in the festivals that it's played have been sharply mixed. So here we are. Let's take a look at the trailer for this. Now, I'll go ahead and give a little quick news on this too. The trailer we're playing is not the one that had been released recently and has then therefore been pulled because it turned out that the marketing team behind the trailer fabricated some critic quotes in the film. Now, granted, it was a premise, Chris, you were telling me, where they weren't meant to be. They were supposed to be showcasing negative reviews of past Coppola classic films.
That is wasn't privileged enough to see it in the 5 seconds that it was online, but yeah, that's my understanding. Is it was kind of commenting to how you were saying people.
Pauline Kael, look at this negative review she gave about The Godfather,
right, or something like that. Yeah.
Which that concept is interesting because again, they're trying to build up this idea that hey, a lot of people didn't get Coppola's classics when they first came out.
Not
either,
getting this one either.
Classic.
Right.
But they did end up fabricating some of these negative reviews, which is kind of, that's a no-no. You don't put a critic's name and then put something wrong in quotes around them.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. So anyway, so all that being said, this is a trailer that is not the one that includes those fake critical quotes. This is a newly released trailer. We're going to watch the trailer for Megalopolis and just see what we're getting into with this. Here we go.
When does an empire die? Does it collapse in one terrible moment? No. But there comes a time when its people no longer believe in it.
Don't let the now destroy the forever.
Ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, welcome.
Is this society, is this way we're living, the only one that's available to us?
Okay, so the trailer we just played was one that did have those negative review critic quotes that I was under the understanding that was all being pulled.
I thought it had been, yeah. So,
Maybe just the version with the fake ones. Maybe those were all real ones that we saw. And if there were some fake ones fabricated, those have been pulled
so
out.
maybe
of the
they've like
trailer.
yeah, who knows? Man, that's crazy.
Anyway, so interesting marketing strategy.
Will the movie be as interesting as the marketing strategy, the failed marketing strategy? Who knows?
I mean, again, for those, I know just hearing it's flashing up quotes of what we believe are real critical quotes, from different publications, kind of negative reviews of some of his classic films. We had The Godfather, we had Apocalypse Now, we had Bram Stoker's Dracula. And again, it's kind of playing this idea of, some people didn't get his movies back then either. And look at them now. So you got to come see Megalopolis because you may hate it when you watch it, but it's going to be a classic in 30 years or something. I don't know.
Right.
Look, I think the trailer looks, I'm fascinated by this film. I want to see this film. It absolutely could be way overindulgent. I could already see that there could be hints of that being the case, and or so obtuse with its messaging or what it's trying to say or its commentary. I don't know, but it looks interesting. And so, I mean, I hate all the negative buzz it's coming out of the festival season because unfortunately it's already affecting our opinions of this film without having even seen it.
Sure,
and that's never fair. So I'm curious and interested to see this, but I also know Coppola's films in the last 20 years have been a little tougher to reach audiences, a little tougher to connect. Will this one change that pace? Will this one kind of resonate? Don't know. Do you have any immediate thoughts after seeing it, Chris?
I absolutely did. And now you've made me forget the name of the film, but you'll help me remember it.
Yeah.
It was one about Hollywood that the director of Whiplash made. What was it?
La La Land.
No. Yes.
Oh, Babylon.
Thank you.
Yeah,
okay, Babylon.
Yeah.
So this to me looks like a combination of, and I guess
Babylon
I'm thinking,
and Metropolis?
Nope. Babylon, The Matrix, and Annette. Annette probably
Annette,
because Adam
yeah.
Driver's in it, and also my expectations headed into Annette. It was Lewis Carrax. Adam Driver was in it. It was all this like big flashiness. The soundtrack was done by by Sparks. And then I admired it. It was a huge swing, but it just didn't quite work. But I admired
Admirable.
it. It was admirable.
I agree, but
it just didn't
work.
quite work. It's like a spectacular failure that was so worth seeing. I wish I could have seen it in a theater. Maybe I need to revisit it because there were moments that were really interesting. Okay, so that's Annette for those reasons. The Matrix, just because of some of like the effects and how it's very futuristic, and the fact that Lawrence Fishburne was narrating that trailer makes me think of The Matrix. And then Babylon, just because that movie was just there was just a lot going on and ultimately did not mesh for me. I think you appreciated it.
It meshed gloriously for me. But
way more than it did for me. But that just kind of, and I admire the big swing that the director took.
Yeah.
So that to me is what this trailer reminds me of, or what this looks like. I can't wait to see it. Question, I guess I can boil all it down. Will I end up thinking it's a better film? Even though it's a different type of film, it's not a musical like Annette was, but will I think it's a better film than Annette or than Babylon? We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think for me, it's just going to be, are we on board with the ideas that Coppola is trying to present in this film? And does he keep it at a level that we as an audience can process and comprehend and follow along? Or is it going to go really, really big and big and big?
Right.
I don't know. It looks big from the movie,
yes.
but
looks enormous.
But I'm intrigued and very, very curious about this. So that is Megalopolis. It is coming to theaters September 27th.
Oh, okay. So soon.
Experience it in IMAX, Chris. It'll be in IMAX theaters.
Okay.
September 27th, which is kind of smart because, I mean, late September, there's not, IMAX is probably a good environment to watch this kind of film in.
It would seem so.
And there's not going to be a lot of demand for big summer movies in IMAX, action movies and spectacle movies at that point. So in late September. So it could have the IMAX theater wrapped up. That could be a good way to see it.
True.
Will it come to Hickory?
hard to say.
Hickory's our hometown for
Right.
anybody listening.
I mean, it does
our
have-
hometown. We're a small market,
Right.
but we do get we have our one AMC theater in
Mm-hmm.
town, and it does tend to get some good variety of films. So we'll see if Megalopolis makes it our way or not.
It does have Adam Driver, which I guess he's
It's
big
a
enough.
sci-fi
Right.
with a big name director. I mean,
Right.
yeah, it could definitely show up. Okay, well, that is Megalopolis coming out September 27th. We will hopefully be having a chance to discuss it at a future episode.
Yes.
All right, Chris, that was the two trailers we want to talk about in films coming up. Let's end the show, in this episode, with our Chris Fry patented recommendation of the week. What do you have to recommend for us as far as a film that you think we might want to check out or revisit if we haven't already recently?
So, right. You teased in the opening of the show that you knew the recommendation. And yes, you do. We had an outdoor screening of The Princess Bride, the film from 1987, directed by Rob Reiner. We screened it outdoor in downtown Hickory. And I had not seen it in a couple of years. And I remember, of course, I liked it. I checked in Letterboxd and I'd rated it 5 stars and given it a heart. And yeah, I really, really like this film. The casting. You've got Robin Wright as Princess Buttercup. You've got Carrie Hughes playing, Wesley, and just Mandy Patinkin. I don't think there's a misstep in casting throughout the entire film. And when the people show up, you're like, oh yeah, that's right, he's in this. Just well crafted, and I don't feel like there's really a lull for me. The film starts, it just moves along. It has kind of the plot making devices of the grandfather telling his son or grandson a story. Fred Savage plays the grandson and Peter Falk plays the grandfather because he's sick and in bed. And it just works and it just moves. And it's something fun to watch with kids because it's an adventure story, but yet there's romance, but kind of winking at the fact, okay, yeah, this is sappy and young kids don't like it just works. It just works. And, there's, for me, true emotion when Inigo Montoya, played by Mandy Patinkin, gets to spout the line, my name is Inigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepare to die. Like, the culmination of that is amazing. And just, it's a really good moment that, earns the weight that it's given by the end of the film. So Princess Bride, you've probably seen it. If you haven't, go check it out. It's on Disney Plus, so it's pretty wide. Or you can probably, it's Disney Plus. You may have that if you have kids. You probably have a subscription to Disney Plus. If not, it's probably rentable on lots of streaming services. But it used to also rerun on cable, like TBS and stations like that, constantly. But yeah, The Princess Bride, 1987, Rob Reiner, just a great film. You like the film, but you're not quite as over the moon as I am about it.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's okay.
Send your hate mail to
There you go.
Alan@footcandle.org.
Right.
I agree with you on the casting. I like the concept of the film. I love the book, the setup of the grandfather reading the grandson. It's great. It's a good setup. It's a fun little story. I don't think Rob Reiner directed a great film with it, but luckily the story and the actors and the characters made up for it, made it compelling enough. So I do like it, but even watching it the other night, it's kind of a sloppy film, but yeah, that's right.
I mean, I won't say that
the charm outweighs.
The charm outweighs. Yeah,
the charm outweighs how good a quality film
like
it is.
It moves for me enough, and the charm and the funniness helps it move along. So yeah, is it maybe kind of shaggy or something? Yeah, but it doesn't bother me.
Hey, this is what film is all about. So you know what? There are times where you're so wrapped up in a film that you can overlook major operational details of how a plot works.
Right.
And it can either distract you because you're not engaged in the film, or if the film's working for you, you're able to just kind of let everything roll. Like, yep, no, give me what you got. I'll take it because I'm enjoying the ride. And that's film. That's why we do this show.
And I will say too, I think during COVID, they did a live read of The Princess Bride, and there was a part of me that was worrying that was building up like some type of momentum for them to do a sequel or something to The Princess Bride, which I would not like. However, it does surprise me that there's never been, thinking about it this time after it finished, I'm like, okay, I don't want a sequel. I definitely don't want a remake, which has also been threatened.
Yeah.
Don't want a remake either. But a spinoff of the Dread Pirate Roberts. I could say, you know what, with the humor, which I guess would be like This Flag Means Death in a way, kind of like that TV series that's on HBO Max that Taika Waititi did, and I like that. But it would be different, but that would kind of be like the mood of the piece. So it's kind of surprised me that that's never happened. But yeah, I highly recommend the film.
All right. The Princess Bride, as Chris said, is available on Disney Plus, but you can also rent or purchase on any other streaming or online movie platform. So
if your local library still stocks DVDs, they probably have a copy.
Good call.
Of
They probably do. I would put some good money on the fact that they probably have it. So, all right. Well, that's going to wrap us up for today. We had our review of Blink Twice, the Zoe Kravitz film. In the first half of the show, positive reviews from both of us on that film. We had our discussion of trailers for the films Megalopolis and also for the film The Room Next Door, the latest Almodovar film, and then Chris's recommendation of The Princess Bride. So, Chris, as always, if anybody hears me talking even the slightest amount of smack about The Princess Bride, I'm not being negative. I'm just not as over the positive.
Moon. Sure.
But if anybody wants to take me down a peg for that or has something to say or has seen Megalopolis, I would love to hear from somebody who's actually seen this film, maybe got to one of the big festivals and got to see it. Tell us about it or a different opinion on Blink Twice. We want to hear that as well. So how can they get a hold of us for any of that, Chris?
You can send an email to info@footcandle.org. You can also follow us on Twitter @FootCandleFilm, Facebook, Footcandle Film Society, Instagram and Threads, Footcandle Film. Al and I are also on Letterboxd, where we try to track what we're seeing and leave quick takes. Do us a favor. If you like the show, consider giving us a star rating, write a review, share with friends on whatever service you get your favorite podcast on, because it'll help us reach new listeners. Have you got your tickets yet for the 2024 Foot Candle Film Festival coming September 20th through the 29th to Western North Carolina? No? Well, then you need to go to footcandlefilmfestival.com and do so. The schedule's up there. It's going to be our 10th year. You can also get tickets at the box office. They'll probably be available. Not normal for things to sell out, although it could happen. But if you're going to be in Western North Carolina, we strongly encourage you to come check it out. It's going to be a good time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and we will look forward to talking to everybody next time. Take care.
See you in the ticket line.
Watch films in the company of like-minded people in the dark. Watch films in the underground. We won't let anyone know where you are. The films that don't make it to Carmike at the mall, or ones that were famous when Grandpa would watch films out of the reverence of the heritage of an art. Watch films through the courtesy of Foot Candle Film Society.
Special thanks to Carpal Tuller for the show theme music. For more about Carpal Tuller, visit www.carpaltuller.com. You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.